Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to the last webinar session for the day today, and we hope that you've enjoyed the IDP Study Abroad Open Day and have managed to speak to all our reps in the university booths as well. And today we have with us Seraphine from ICON Plus, and she'll be talking about tips and strategy for general and subject-based interview. And we hope that you've learned something and have something to take away from this session. Over to you, Seraphine.
Thank you so much. Okay, so thanks for joining us this afternoon. If you've been with the program since the start of the afternoon, I'm sure you've been bombarded with a lot of information. So I hope that, in this last half an hour, I'm going to be able to impart some very useful knowledge to you when it comes to preparing for your general or subject-based interviews. So what I would like to do right now is to just give you an overview of the three things that I would like to cover. So the first thing I would like to talk about is questions that require you to talk about yourself and your achievements. And then after that, I'm going to go into the rule of three. And what that is about is how to structure your responses to general questions. And the last thing I would like to share, which might be familiar to some of you, is the STAR method. And this is a proven strategy to structure your responses for situational questions. So let's very quickly move on into questions about you. Now, some of the examples that you might have come across would be to tell us about yourself, or why should we admit you, or maybe even what makes you different from other candidates. Okay, so anything that requires you to talk about your values, describe yourself, or even share about what makes you special would fall under this category. So how would you then structure your responses, and what exactly are they looking for? So I've got 3 points here. What they want to know is your personal brand. And what does that mean by that? So if they want to be able to see if you have a strong sense of self, do you have a very clear identity of who you are? They also want to know whether or not there are specific skills and knowledge that you bring to the table. And all these in combination, what makes them special about you? Now, there are concerns sometimes about talking about your achievements. You need to be able to present your best self. And then that begs the question, does it mean I'm bragging about myself? So that's not necessarily the case, because there is really nothing wrong with talking about the achievements that you've accomplished if they are accurate. So the important thing is not to embellish, not to exaggerate, and not to lie. So if they have been documented in other areas of your application, then there's really nothing wrong with talking about all the wonderful things that you've done. Now, then going into an interview, sometimes you need to convince yourself first that you're great, right? Otherwise, how in the world are you going to go and present your best self to the interviewer? If you are not comfortable talking about your achievements, how are you going to convince them about all the wonderful things that you've done? So be confident in yourself and be proud of your accomplishments and your achievements. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough time convincing the interview panel that, give you a place in their university or offer you their scholarship. So let's move on to the rule of three. examples of questions that you might want to apply this rule of 3 to would be, what do you think your strengths are? What do you think, this should be, why do you think you have the aptitude for this subject? Why did you apply to this course or this university or this scholarship? Now, this requires you to give reasons, right? So the rule of 3 is good because it gives you an opportunity to structure your response. And you need to, first of all, respond directly to the question. You then need to provide signposts for your response, meaning give them an indication of what your points are going to be so that they kind of like can frame their expectations on what you're going to say. So the reason why it's rule of 3 is there are 3 points. By giving 3 points, you first address the first point and then give evidence to support this point, to provide the evidence to prove that you actually possess this quality. And then you do the same for the second point with a different piece of evidence, and then the third point with maybe a different piece of evidence, or you can elaborate on existing evidence further. Then at the end of your third point, you then reiterate and respond directly to the question. Now, structuring your response is no different from writing an essay or presenting a speech. You need to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Now, the only difference in an interview question would be the amount of preparation time that you have. So if you are able to structure your response on the go, then it demonstrates that you've got the agility and flexibility of mind, right? So I'm going to elaborate further on why I've given you this rule of 3. So by responding to the question directly, what you are doing is demonstrating immediately that you have understood the question. So then you need to tell them that, you know what, I'm going to cover these 3 points. And it shows that you can think on your toes and you can organize your thoughts. So why 3 points? 3 points actually gives you enough space to elaborate and provide insight. And it also then limits how much rambling you do, but it gives you enough meat and substance to your response. So why do you need evidence? You need evidence to substantiate any claims that you make. For example, if you say that you are creative, can you pick any CCA activity or any hobbies or any internship duties that you've had to show that you are creative? So you've got to be very mindful. For example, to say that I am creative, but you haven't contributed to, let's say, an advertising campaign, or to come up with strategies for a project, would be very hard for them to believe that you are creative. So if you say that I'm creative because I paint every weekend and I have sold several of my paintings, that automatically shows them that there is proof that you are creative. Then you also want to be able to demonstrate consistency in your application. If you have submitted your transcripts or achievements, or your referees have mentioned these qualities about you, it then reinforces evidence about you from every step of your application, whether it is the submission of your documents, to your personal statement, to the interview. There is definitely consistency in your application. Now, also, by telling them from the start that you're only going to cover 3 points, it then means that your interviewer is going to give you space to complete your 3 points, and they will then kind of wait for you to finish and not interrupt you, because they know, okay, you've come to the 3rd point and you're going to be wrapping up soon. Then they're not going to cut you off. So after you've made and elaborated your 3 points, it's important for you to reiterate and respond directly to the question again, because then what you're doing is you're wrapping up nicely and reinforcing that you've answered the question, right? And you haven't forgotten the question and you haven't strayed away from the question. So this then signals to the interviewer that you're done, and then they can move on to the next question. Now, coming to the STAR method, some examples of STAR method questions would be, how have you bounced back from a mistake? Or tell me about your proudest accomplishment, and even what was the biggest challenge in school. So you're using the STAR method to structure your answers by giving them the situation. This is where you briefly give them the who, the what, the when, the where. You don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details and tell them what happens step by step by step. You only want to give them enough information for them to form a basic and give them context on how the situation transpired. T focuses then on your roles and responsibilities in this situation that occurred. To find out how, what you were supposed to do, and then comparing it to the actual action that you took also gives them an indication on how you, whether or not you stuck to the plan or whether or not you deviated from the plan. And also, they will then assess whether or not you're able to think critically, make adjustments, or are you very rigid in the situation. Then the meat of your response should be on the result and the reflection. What was the outcome? Was it positive or was it negative? And they want to know whether or not you learned from that experience. So R stands for the result and reflection. So when it comes to responding to situational questions where you talk about things that you've done in the past, make sure you don't go into the nitty-gritty details. Don't give them a blow-by-blow account of what happened. You need to just provide enough information for context, which is why I've given you just to cover the who, the what, the when, the where. Now, the reasoning and your thought process, this is the how and why, right? So that they can see whether or not, you know, like I mentioned earlier, did you deviate from the plan? Then the takeaways, this is your reflection. They want to know whether you can evaluate what went well or what went badly. What did you learn about yourself from this situation? And how will you apply what you've learned at university and in your career later on? They want to know that you have the ability to think critically. They also want to know that you can be vulnerable. If you are able to admit that you've made mistakes and take affirmative steps not to repeat those mistakes, that's very important. And they also want to know how you respond to success. So if something went well, what is your reflection on the outcome, right? Do you gloat about it? Do you pat yourself on the shoulder too much? And do you toot your own horn too much? All that provides a lot of insight into how you think and how you function. And then they can then assess from there whether or not your values are aligned with the organization. Also, in such situations, you usually have to interact and work with other people. So do you have the soft skills? And do you have the ability to play well with others, right? Can you get along with other people? So these are the three hopefully insightful tips and strategies that you will find easy to adopt in your interview questions. But obviously I couldn't go in depth in this very short time. But what I would like to do is to share with you, something that we have at ICON Plus, which we want to offer you, and we think will be very helpful in your university application journey. So I'm going to let you watch this video, and then I'll explain it a bit more. Right, so ICON Plus has been in the test preparation and university admissions business for 23 years. And what we have done is we've consolidated all our best tips and strategies and compiled them into this learning platform, online learning platform. And we've got new drops every month to take you on this journey through your university application. Now, if you are interested in finding out more about it, why don't you just sign on for the free trial? And this is something that you're entitled to. Either that or someone from our company will reach out to you to give you more information about Gateway Plus. Now, because you've signed up for this IDP webinar, what we will do is we'll give you a 1 month free access to our foundational pathways. So to give you insight into the benefits of a university education and why you should go for a university education, and even enlighten you or give you insight into things like whether or not you should take a gap year. right? We'll also provide the general application pathway where you can get insight into why you should work on building a personal brand, your academic portfolio, and how these lay the foundation for your entire application, from the submission of your documents to the personal statement and also to your interviews. And we'll give you very detailed tips and strategies, much more than what I've shared with you today, right? So I think that this is definitely something that will benefit you, and we hope that, you know, we can accompany you on this journey to applying to your universities of choice. Now, if you want more information about our services and what we have to offer, these are our contact details below. You can hit us visit our website and find out more about our services. We also have one-on-one coaching if you would like a more personalized service. We also have a WhatsApp number that you can call, or you can email us. So we're very happy to speak to you and to find out how we can help you more on this journey. So I've come to the end of my sharing this afternoon. Is there anything that you would like to find out, you would like to ask me specific about interview questions?
Yep, please feel free to pop in your questions if you have any for Seraphine. While we're waiting for students to pop in their question or start cracking their brains on questions to ask Seraphine, thank you once again, Seraphine, for joining us at IDP Study Abroad Open Day. And we're really glad to have you sharing tips with our students today. And I hope that the students have some good takeaways, not only those who are joining us on Zoom today. Yeah, we also have students joining us on Facebook Live, as well as this video will be uploaded on our YouTube channel for the students to, you know, relook at the recording if they have missed this session. Yeah. Okay, I guess there's no questions from the students. I think Seraphine has covered really well and detailed in your presentation, and we thank you for your time today. And we hope to see you at our next event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Grace. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.